that Virginia Giuffre hadn't ever accused you. I've read her memoir painstakingly from start to finish, no end of times now. We know that she didn't...
Remember, wait a minute, she is told by her friend Sharon Churcher, include Dershowitz. He's good for your pitch. Include him. If she had had sex with me, I would have let off the book. Oh my God, she would have included me. Instead, she included me because Churcher told her to.
Yeah.
But at that point, she was partly truthful. She included me as someone she'd never met and never had sex with.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And Sharon Churcher is someone who I've been trying to get hold of. She's impossible to speak to. The only reason that we know about a lot of what she's said about Virginia since is obviously from the transcript of a telephone conversation in which she completely calls Virginia a blackmailer, and she says that she's completely lying. She actually, I don't know if you must have seen, but she's actually suggesting that some of the emails that Virginia has presented don't ring true. She doesn't recollect them, but it's not language that she particularly uses herself. So the word pedo, for instance. So there's discrepancies on that.
And she said that. She's told that to us too.
Yeah.
I don't put it beyond Virginia Giuffre or her lawyers to fake tapes. Let's remember that Virginia Giuffre is asked under oath, do you have any emails that mention Alan Dershowitz, that mention him? She swears under oath no.
Yeah.
With her lawyer standing next to her, and literally in their pocket, they have the emails that mention my name. Literally, they've checked, they know that there are emails saying you should mention Alan Dershowitz, he's good for your pitch.
Yeah.
No proof that he did anything wrong, but you should mention him. Yeah. And she swears under oath in front of her lawyer, committing perjury under oath in front of her lawyer, that she doesn't have any emails mentioning Alan Dershowitz, and the media hasn't picked up on that.
And so what was your first reaction? So you've just found out that Virginia has changed her story yet again and has accused you. So you're suddenly being approached by the press. What was yours, and not just yours, your family's? Because I'm very aware that we forget that this impacts people's, not just their lives, but their families as well.
My children, my grandchildren. My grandchildren are both in medical school. They're both at the age where the Me Too movement is very important. My daughter at the time was in college. It impacts us greatly. What happened is I had never heard of Virginia Giuffre, and I got a call saying this woman named Virginia Roberts has accused you. And I immediately told my wife, and we laughed about it because, so many men do these things. But everybody knows I don't. I'm not that kind of person. So basically, I ignored it in the beginning, and then the media started calling. I think it's because my name was put together with Prince Charles, and I'm sorry, Prince Charles.
Yeah, let's not accuse.
No, nobody's accused Prince Charles. As far as I know, he's a very nice person, as is Prince Andrew, who I do know through Jeffrey Epstein, obviously. Yeah. But because our names were linked, and because he's an automatic headline grabber, my name was put in stories all over the world, and I couldn't. First of all, it's not my style just to sit back and sweep it under the rug. I immediately said, I'm going to try to get the lawyers disbarred. I want her investigated for perjury. I'm fighting back. I'm not going to sit and take this. It's a false and completely made up story. So I went into battle mode right away. And nobody I know personally believes this story.
Yeah.
The only people who believe it are people who don't know me, and people who just ideologically say women are born with the gene to tell the truth and men are born with the gene to lie.
Yeah.
It's only those kind of people that believe it against not the weight of the evidence, but all the evidence. If you read my book, Guilt by Accusation, you'll see there's so much evidence. Her own lawyer on tape in a conversation with me says she's wrong, simply wrong. It couldn't have happened. She couldn't have met you on the island. She couldn't have met you on the ranch. It's impossible. And so, the evidence is overwhelming. And yet people still look at me. I've been canceled by synagogues in New York, by Temple Emmanuel in New York. The rabbi said to me, we know it isn't true, but you've been accused.
Wow.
And if you've been accused, how can we allow you to speak in our temple? And so my life has changed dramatically as a result of the accusation. I've gotten, I got a dozen or more honorary doctorates before the accusation. I haven't gotten a single honorary doctorate or request to speak by a major university since this happened. I'm 83 years old. I'm entitled to live out my life in honor. I've lived an honorable life. But this woman has destroyed all that, and there has to be compensation for that. I will contribute whatever I get from her to charities, but I want to make sure she doesn't live in a fancy house somewhere in Australia and live on the proceeds of her intellectual prostitution and her actual prostitution.
No, it's spot on. But there's one person who claims to support her accusations against you. And now, I did quite a lot of research into her, and to be honest, her credibility is probably the same level as Virginia Giuffre. I think you know who I'm speaking about, Maria Farmer.
It's much worse. We're talking about, there were two.
Oh, okay.
Let me be very clear. There were two. There's a woman named Ransom.
Sarah Ransom. Oh, yeah. Well, she accused Trump before.
Who claims that she had sex tapes of Hillary Clinton and of Donald Trump, and they're both pedophiles, and that she was in touch with the KGB, and she tried to sell this story to the New York Post. The New York Post obviously didn't accept it, and then she finally admitted to the New Yorker magazine she made the whole thing up. So she's the other witness against me. She's the one who claims I was her lawyer. There'd be evidence if I was her lawyer. I was never her lawyer. And that she slept with me once in New York. Obviously no true. I never met her. Then there's a woman named Farmer who claims, doesn't claim she saw me do anything wrong, but she claims she saw me in Jeffrey Epstein's house while she was working for him, and that I walked up the steps in the presence of young girls. The problem is Farmer was fired and stopped working for Epstein months before I ever met her. So I could not possibly have been in his house, and I wasn't, during the time she was in his house. She made up the story. What do the three women have in common? David Boies. That's what they have in common. One of the most prominent lawyers in America who had all three of these women, and all three of these women committed perjury while he was their lawyer. He must be investigated for suborning perjury. He should be disbarred. He should be in prison. He is the villain of this piece. He is behind the false accusations against me. And he's the one who's on tape telling me she's wrong, simply wrong. It's impossible. It couldn't have been done this way. He told me that, by the way, a dozen times, that he didn't believe it. And then he goes ahead and files an affidavit by Ransom without telling the court that she has admitted making up stories, and an affidavit by Farmer without telling them that he knows that Farmer stopped working for Epstein and was never at his house months before I ever set foot in his house. So this is something that goes way beyond Virginia Giuffre, way beyond Ransom, way beyond Farmer, and it goes right to the heart of the American legal system and to the office of one of America's most prominent lawyers. I've been thinking about possibly filing a RICO suit, a racketeer influence corrupt organization lawsuit, against the law firm Boies and Schiller, because David Boies uses that law firm as part of his process of extortion. He tried to have the following scheme. Somebody came to him and said he had pictures of prominent people having sex with Virginia Giuffre. The pictures were all fake, it turned out. He didn't know that at the time. So he and another lawyer schemed. What they would do is call all the prominent people and tell them they better hire us as their lawyer and pay us a fortune in legal fees. Otherwise, we will allow these pictures to come out. There's a term for that. It's called extortion. And why are these lawyers getting away with these crimes and this perjury? It's a disgrace to the legal system. I taught at Harvard for 50 years. I've taught legal ethics. I've tried to teach my legal students to be ethical and to be honest, not to be like David Boies, not to be like the other lawyers who have engaged in such unethical behavior.
And why do you think, if we focus on Boies, is it all? What's the motivation, do you think? Is it money, or is there something more personal going on?
Look, a friend of his, a close friend of his, once said there are 3 reasons boys get involved in a